Another day, another story about a city trying to give non-citizens the right to vote. This time, Portland, Maine. And as I was planning on doing this, I realized if the title of the video says Portland plans to, non-citizens the right to vote, people are going to assume it's Portland, Oregon. No, I believe this is Portland, Maine. This is from the Press Herald, which is a Portland, Maine paper. We have this story. It says, Mayor and Councilor pushing to give non-citizens the right to vote in Portland. The proposal calls for letting legal residents participate in municipal elections, but it faces legal and other hurdles. Okay, when I saw this, I kind of couldn't believe it, except for the fact that it's happened in a bunch of other cities. What do you think will happen if you give people who are not citizens the right to vote in city elections? They will vote to empower non-citizens more. Eventually, you will not have a community. And this is what I don't understand how people don't understand this. There's a reason why you have to be a citizen to vote, because you are a part of the community, because you live in the community, you have family there, and that's actually the argument they're using. They're saying, look, there are people who have kids here, they've been living here for a long time, they should have a right to vote. In my opinion, yes, once they become citizens. And the story actually highlights someone who waited until after he was a citizen to vote, but was frustrated by it. Yeah, well, sorry. Citizens vote, non-citizens don't. Well, let's see what the story has to say. I say Portland Mayor Ethan Strimling and City Councilor Pius Ali are bringing forward a proposal to allow some non-citizens to vote in local elections. The proposal would allow adult non-citizens who are legally present in the U.S., including asylum seekers and refugees, to vote in municipal elections, such as local referendums, including school budgets and races for school board and city council. Undocumented immigrants would not be allowed to vote. Okay, so it's about legal residents, so not undocumented immigrants. Still, the problem is, I was trying to think of some kind of social experiment I could do to explain to people just why this wouldn't necessarily work. And I thought about, maybe I'll actually do something like this in the future, but take a group of people, have them complete a task. In exchange for that task, you will reward them with something, free lunch, it's not a free lunch, like if you do X task, we'll give you lunch and dinner and we'll give you $50. And after they do all the work, I want to look over to somebody who's just sitting there being like, hey, can I come in? Can I have lunch? And go, yeah, sure, why not? Why don't we have a vote on it? And then more people will come in and they'll be like, but those people aren't part of this group. Like, we did this thing together. These people are coming in afterwards. Well, yeah, but they're here now, right? I mean, they came in late, but they're talking to you. They're getting involved. The general idea is, not that, look, if you live here, I understand. There are legal residents who have been here for a long time, and they want to have their say in city council and all that stuff. But there's a very simple legal distinction between a resident and a citizen. Resident just means you're allowed to live here. You are not a citizen. And the defining factor of whether or not you should be voting is if you're a citizen. If we allow non-citizens to vote, of course they will vote to empower non-citizens in the future. And it is a cascade effect of like, it's like, you have an exclusive club where you got to pay to get in, and then they start letting in a couple people and then ask them what they think. Well, why don't we let those people in too? And then eventually you'll have more and more people who are advocating for those like them, which is plain and simple. You've opened the gates, you've let people in, and now they're saying let more people in, and they're going to vote in favor of non-citizens. Plain and simple. It's it. So there's got to be some cutoff point, right? There's got to be some factor that determines whether or not you can vote. Citizenry is supposed to be that, not residency. Because being a resident is nowhere near as grueling as becoming a citizen. Becoming a citizen means you understand the country, you understand the culture and the values. If we have people coming into our country who don't understand our values and don't agree with us, we're going to create tensions, racial tensions, there's going to be crime, there's going to be poverty. That's why you have to become a citizen. Let's keep reading. They say, non-citizens can vote in a handful of U.S. cities, but the idea has been rejected before in Portland and statewide, and the proposal faces multiple hurdles. It will require an amendment to the city charter, which can be done only through a citywide vote. The council must first vote to put the question to voters, and that proposal will appear for the first time on Monday's council agenda. A public hearing and possible vote by the council is scheduled for August 13. So they just laid it out. Listen, they want to decide whether or not non-citizens can vote. They put the vote to the people. The people are either going to say yes or no. If they say yes, what they have done is now included a group of people who will advocate for them. Not only that, but politicians will now advocate for them as well. You are creating a massive voting bloc which will not have the same values and interests as you as citizens. you're essentially evaporating the rights of citizenry by saying, I mean, what does being a citizen get you that being a legal resident won't? Well, for one, your say in how taxes are handled, running for office, and voting. And this would blur that distinction, and then you'd have politicians advocating for people who are not citizens of this country. See the problem? Apparently they don't. And there are conflicting opinions about whether the move could be challenged in court as a violation of state law, an argument made Wednesday by a spokeswoman for Governor Paul LePage. Strimling, who first announced in January 2017 that he planned to introduce the proposal, said, "The timing is right to place the initiative on the ballot this November. Portland residents have said loud and clear that they support immigrants and oppose federal efforts to restrict immigration," he said. Quote, "The outcry of support for the immigrant community in the city has been remarkable under the Trump administration," Strimling said. "It's so heartening, and I think this is another good step forward." Strimling said Ali, an immigrant for Ghana, is leading the initiative. Ali did not respond to an interview request Wednesday. I hate to use this analogy because a lot of people are calling illegal immigration an invasion. But I think it has to be pointed out to a certain degree there is an issue here. If someone wants to conquer your nation, if they want to come in and they want to take your resources, they want to gain access to the things you built, your technology, your ideas, your food, your resources, etc., well, they can do it by force. Here we have politicians that are advocating for just allowing them to have a right to vote, in which case one of these guys is literally an immigrant, which means, of course, he's going to advocate for non-citizens to vote. It empowers him. It's also going to give politicians a huge voting block. They're going to be the ones, remember, we gave you the right to vote in the first place, now vote for us, and not all of them will. But it's a huge opportunity for a certain group of people to make sure that they can stay in power, and they're willing to expand who has rights in order to do so. And what do you think is going to happen? Well, eventually, there's going to be more immigrants. And here's what else will happen. There's going to be a lot of people from outside the community who say, whoa, we can vote in the city. Let's move there. Interestingly, they talk about how the state might actually say no. And that if they do this, even if they pass it, some other people can challenge the legality of the vote based on state and federal level. And I bet it might even go up to the Supreme Court where they can say, if you're not a citizen of this country, you can't vote. It's just a slippery slope. Do I think immigrants are bad people? No, of course not. Do I think that we should treat them with respect and hear them out? Of course we should. But should we allow non-citizens to vote? No, we shouldn't. There is a process by which you can become a citizen for a reason, so you understand the country you live in. It's unclear how the proposal will be received by other councilors, many of whom did not respond to a request for comment Wednesday. The few who did respond had a range of reactions. "I will need to be convinced that we should change the charter," Councilor Kim Cook said. "My initial thought is voting is a right that comes with citizenship." It's almost like they don't care about the word citizenship. They don't care about what it means to be a tax-paying member of a community, to be born here, to share values. That they're openly saying someone can just show up, apply for residency, be it like an immigrant, and it's not super easy. I'm not saying they just walk in the door. Undocumented immigrants can't vote. But they're lowering the bar for how our system is controlled. And this will lead us down a path where citizenship doesn't matter. Because what's the difference at this point? If non-citizens can vote, what's the difference between a citizen and non-citizen? They all work, they all pay taxes. Do citizens get things non-citizens don't? Well, if they can vote, no. Because even if it's true that there are some things non-citizens still won't have, they'll vote for it. This is the problem. There needs to be a boundary by which we say you can and can't vote. You're a legal resident. Great. That means we've said you can live here. We like you. Have a job, pay taxes, all that good stuff. But you're not a citizen. You can't vote. You have to earn that. Plain and simple. Councilor Spencer Thibodeau was concerned about whether the state would need to pass enabling legislation and whether the city would extend voting rights to a group of people while not also making them eligible to run for public office. Another problem. He wondered if councilors would have enough time to study the proposal before putting it to voters this fall. And there's the other thing. The slippery slope argument. It's not a fallacy. Sometimes it is. Think about it. Being a citizen comes with the right to run for office and the right to vote for others who are running for office. What do you think will happen? What's next? Well, non-residents can vote. What's the difference between a non-resident and a resident? They can all vote. Why can't a non-citizen? Why can't a non-citizen run for office? What's the difference? They live here, they work, they vote. What's the difference? I say we vote to allow non-citizens to be public officials. And then guess who votes in favor of that? Non-citizens. You see where this is going? And then eventually you'll have non-citizens coming in this country and saying, what's the point of borders? Why do we even have a border separating us? People should be allowed to live here. And the more you bring in, the more they'll vote in the direction of dissolving the barriers and the regulation. There's a reason why this is bad. And it's because massive multinational corporations want to take advantage of open borders. Open borders is not just a problem because criminals can come here. It's not just a problem because we can't regulate the migrants who are coming here. It's a problem because given the opportunity, massive corporations will do everything in their power to avoid paying taxes, and they'll do everything in their power to pay the cheapest garbage wage. If borders are meaningless and there are none, how can the U.S. enforce companies? Like a company will just open it 10 feet across the border and hire people for garbage wages. Jurisdiction makes sense. We have a minimum wage in this country. Within this jurisdiction, you have to abide by the rules. In a city like Portland, they have their jurisdiction. You have to abide by the rules. What do you think is going to happen if you erode that jurisdiction and allow people who are not citizens to come in and vote and change things? They will eventually and increasingly vote in favor of non-citizens and, in my opinion, dissolving borders and jurisdiction, thus allowing... It's almost this weird, like, ultimately libertarian-esque situation where everyone's just doing what they want and like market capitalism takes over because the system can't enforce anything. Without borders, who's going to enforce taxation? You just walk across the border and be like, you got no rights, you got no jurisdiction. So anyway, the story goes on to talk about a particular immigrant who came here and he has children. He says it's frustrating because his kids are in school and he wants to vote in these elections. Well, listen, your kids have rights, your spouse has rights, but you need to become a citizen first. There needs to be a threshold. I don't know. I got one more video. I got another video coming up, and then I've got another video addressing something that happened at Politicon where Cenk Uygur kind of got in my face and started yelling at me. I don't want to say got in my face necessarily, but he was cussing me out. And so stick around. One more video coming up, and then I've got another video about Politicon.